Okay, my friends, another major shocker du jour off the coast of California. Mysterious holes on the ocean floor have a new explanation. Well, yes, they do. Now let's see what their explanation is. I'll show you my explanation, and you make your determination about the explanation. All right, you see this? These are these big pock marks. This is a lung. And these are like these big pock marks that are all over. And then in between all of these, there's little blood vessels. This is another lung, and you can see all of the alveoli, which are the big ones. And you see all the little tiny pock marks all around here? Those are the little blood vessels. That's these here. And when you get up close and look at them, you can see a little better. But these are about our size right here. This is a lung, about a human size. This is a hair follicle from a giant creature, some gigantic creature. I don't know if it's a human or not, but it's two inches wide. Ours are a little more than 2/1000ths of an inch wide, so it's hundreds of times bigger than a human, if it was human. So these are the kind of things we had. This is on the ocean floor. These are immense. These things are hundreds and hundreds of feet across, but they are, I believe, the same as these alveoles right here. You can see those little round spots. Hold on, let me back it out here. You see these little round spots here? And then you see all the little blood vessels. That's basically what you're looking at right there, is all those little round spots, and then the black things are all the little blood vessels. That's my take on it. Okay, I think you know I have giants, and they've been DNA tested and CAT scanned and everything. They're not huge, but still maybe 180 feet tall or so. This is a hair follicle. That's the erector pili muscle attachment. That right there is the sebaceous gland. It's slid down from the hair shaft. The hair shaft comes straight up through the top. That's the root ball. And those two little dots are the vein and artery at the bottom. It is, no question whatsoever, it is a hair follicle. From what kind of creature, I don't know. But if it was human, it would be hundreds of times bigger than a human being. So the ones I have are pretty good size, but they're certainly nothing like what this would be. And then there's other ones, the ones that are in the ocean. These creatures were just absolutely staggeringly large, as I probably showed you, or absolutely will. Quetzalcoatl and Typhon in North Africa. I mean, they're just everywhere. It's just what it was. You know, if it's true, it's true, and you could at least address it. If you can think it's wrong, well, tell me it's wrong, but explain to me why. I'm explaining to you why it's right. Okay, before we get into this too far, I just want to try to explain to you right off the bat what we're looking at here. These are a bunch of little holes. Well, they're not little, they're actually huge. There's thousands of them, approximately 10 meters deep and 100 meters wide. That's 300 feet wide. These are big holes. And then they have all these little pock marks around them. And they just don't understand what they're seeing. And I think I might. All right, check this out. This is really interesting. These are these holes. And this is a different perspective, but you see inside of them, they all have a very similar situation going on here. Now, inside of a lung, there's actually holes that go down inside and penetrate like little tubes going through the whole lung. This is a mudfossil lung, and this is basically what you have here. Now, inside of every one of those holes, there's a tube going down, or a passageway, let's go with that, going down to the rest of the lung. It's everywhere. The lung is just completely saturated with little what they call alveoli, which the air goes through it and picks up the oxygen. Now, I believe this has something to do with the alveoli. Now, additional to these are these little tiny, well, I'll show you. All right, so remember this. We were just looking at that one right there. this was a different sort of shade to it and a little more graphic, squared off. You see they're sort of trying to plot it or something. I don't know what to do. But these are the little black spots that are all over the place too. And there's zillions of those. And these are the same thing. They have like these white spots in the center. I think those are the connections into the alveoli. See, these are the big pock marks, which I call the alveoli, and these are the micro depressions. But you see those? Those have a very similar look to them. They're not just depressions for no reason. They're like little tiny holes. And I know what they are, I believe, and I'll show you exactly what they are, because I think I have some here. They're smaller, but the same thing. All right, this is a lung completely stripped of all the pleura, which is this coating. This is a lung also. This one's been DNA tested, CAT scanned, everything, and it's right here. And it's flat, just like they basically all are, because this all happened in a great hot, boiling hot water flood. And it boiled all the flesh off the body parts, and the silica, which was heavy, dense in this particular event, bonded with the collagens and created feldspar. That's what feldspar is. It coats basically all rocks. Now, this still has all of its coating on it, which is the pleura, which is the like rubber bag that the lung is in your body, and it goes like this all day long. It's like a big rubber coating. It's a membrane to separate your lung from the rest of your body. Now, this one has all of this missing. You see this one here? Not only that, let's tunnel in on this. You see this is a lung. You see the little holes there? These are all little alveoli. Air comes down, it goes all through there, and they have all little holes going through them. All little tiny blood vessels bringing blood in and out. And here it is right here. This is what those holes are. You see? I don't know if you can see them too well, but they're there. Now, over here, you see these little blood vessels? Those are going to be all over the place. You don't see as many as there really is here. But these are, I believe, the big pock marks. And the little black spots are the blood vessels that I'm showing you here. And they leak. They actually leak. You see, this is close up. They're very, very close to each other. But some of them are you can see. Most of them you can't see here. They're just too tiny to see. But they're in here. And this is one that is completely coated. Now check this out. This one here, I think I just showed you, is completely stripped. Maybe I didn't show you. But anyway, this has all of its alveoli holes totally emptied. But every one of those holes has a channel going in to make a connection to the rest, and then it evacuates out of here, and a major tube comes out of there. All right, so this is completely devoid of everything other than the structure. This one has everything. You could just about transplant this thing. It's so perfect. It's flawless. All of the fabric is still on it. It's saturated with blood. All I have to do is put water on it. I think it'll start bleeding. This one, check this out now. This one here is half and half. Look, this is the pleura, the same as on there. All right, there's that real heavy-duty rubber bag. Your lung has to do this all day, 24 hours a day until you die. So it better be pretty well coated, and it is. And then down in here is all the alveoli. All right, and there's a little attachment up at the top here, and then there's an attachment down at the bottom here that tags it in. Now here's another lung that was perfect, but the tube that goes into it, instead of it just being empty, it filled up with silicates. This was a heavy silicon invasion of this hot water flood. Boiled all the flesh away, left the body parts, wherever there was collagen. Bones pretty much boiled away, although I do have one here that did preserve. Bones, normally, they just didn't preserve. I don't know why this one did, to be perfectly honest with you, but this is a perfectly preserved Mudfossil bone. And inside was the marrow, that little white spot, I don't even know if you can see it. A little tiny white spot, there's bone there. In a microscope you can see the bone. There's still a tiny taste of bone. So, but bones and trees and stuff like that, they just didn't make it, they dissolved. But wherever there was a lot of collagen, it protected. I called it fascia-facilitated fossilization. I wrote a paper on it in 2015 saying these all preserved because of the fascia, which is this. All right? And this has fascia too, but it's very thin. And it must be that the bones were so thin with the fascia, it had to be in a certain condition where the fascia still did protect it. But these dense ones, they're dense with fascia. They protected it very well. Even the feathers on this goose, they're made out of collagens. I think it's a goose. If anybody knows the feather pattern, if a goose has this, I can't find one that looks like that feather pattern. The feathers are coming off the side underneath it, like this, and one big flap on the top. It looks to me. Yes, I call him Caesar Augustus. I think this is a guy, he got to be a waterfowl of some sort. See, this is right off the coast of California. And this just covered with all these little holes and balls and all that stuff down there, which I'm pretty sure is a lung. And I think there's a little island down in that area that is part of this thing and is part of a lung. Let me show you that. All right, here's the United States. They're off the coast of California somewhere around here. It's a big, big field. But this right here, I think, is a little taste of a lung. And I say that because of this. Let it settle in. You see these bumps? You see those? Those are not volcanoes. You see that? They're all over this thing. And I believe these are the same as I showed you in that other lung. They're the bumps, only they're bumped up instead of sunk down inside. Here's another one. You know, they're all over. The different colors. You see how they color sometimes? I don't know why they do that, but they're all over this thing. They're everywhere. And let me just turn this around. You see this? This is all biology. This is some kind of, like this stuff here. All right, and it's eroded away out of the way here, and it's just hanging over there now. You see that? Just hanging over. That's some kind of fabric that was in sheets as the membrane. Now, you see this here? Look at this. Just look at this carefully. Just open your mind and look. This is not just accident up here. These things, these different layers, there's no sedimentation that does that. And this right here is some kind of blood vessel or something coming out of here. Red blood running down the side. And there's areas here that are just saturated with blood. Saturated. Now look at this. There's a bazillion of these holes, but some of them are bigger than a lot of little ones and some big ones. Here's a big one. You see around here? Look at the whole thing right around here. You see this? That's a big one coming out of right there. You see, that's the center of it right there. They all have these flows coming out of them, but I don't know what to make of that, to be perfectly honest with you. And then this would have been all one big hole in this lung. And this is just this is like this much of the lung. It's just almost nothing of this lung. And here's California. All right, so this is just the tiniest little piece of a lung. So if it was a good-sized lung, it would be probably all this whole area, or all up in here, or maybe down here. I don't know. But I was looking at the side of it. You see all these balls and stuff all over here? This, I believe, is some kind of tissue that was holding it together. There's a lot of fabric in these lungs, and even inside, when you get inside of them, it's hard to see them, but it's a lot of difference between here and over here. It looks to me like the thing worked its way over this way towards California. This whole thing could be a lung. It could be the whole thing is a lung. Could be right over here all the way up here. I don't know. But I say this is part of a lung, and I say most of the lung goes this way. Here's California. All right, here's the other side of the coin. They found the same area is completely covered with these balls, and they're looking to make a ton of money off it. And this is the stuff here, these little balls, and they're made out of rare earth metals. And here's what they look like. What they're hoping to be able to do is take these machines down here and scoop them all up. Look, see that? They're just everywhere. They're everywhere all over the ocean floor. That's just a picture, but that's basically what they want to be able to do, is just harvest them up. All right, so don't forget now, this is what they're finding, is these big holes. And then they see these little black dots here and there. And they all have these little, something in the center of these big holes. Now, I'm going to show you one I have in my microscope here that is a lung. Now, I'm going to try to balance it a little bit. Now, here's the big hole. All right, this is the lung that you were just looking at in the microscope. And these are the little black dots that are around all over the place. And this is these little circles. You see the circles? These are the ones they're seeing on the ocean floor. And then these little black dots all around them. And this one's extremely eroded, this lung, but the one on the ocean floor would have just been laying there, and you would have just seen a pocket after a pocket after a pocket, and then all these little black dots. All right, so like I say, I got interrupted a whole ton of times, but we're talking about deep sea mining and these manganese nodules that they're finding all over the ocean floor, deep in the ocean. Now, there's some special chemistry that could be going on deep in the ocean, pressure and this salacious ooze possibly could have something to do with it. I don't know. But it's worth trying to understand it, because these are biological. Those are those interstitching balls. It's just nothing but biology, my friends. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. And the creatures were staggeringly large. All right, so I'm saying these pock marks are literally the alveoli, and these micro depressions are just little blood vessel spots. Now, this is what they look like, these depressions. And this is 50 meters wide. This is like 150 meters wide, these things. They're huge. And the little ones are only 11 meters wide, but they're both depressions. And I had some other shots. Hold on. All right, this is where they found thousands of these mysterious holes. And near these mysterious holes are the little black ones. But look, there's something going on here. Now, what I would like to know is, are these things connected? Could you put like a certain dye or something in there and find it coming out over here? Or are they sucking something in? Is there something's going on here? Unless that picture's just not correct. I mean, there's some kind of, something's going on in these tubes. And now the water is washing this way and making it do that, or whatever's causing this, I don't know. But that's what I would like to know. Are these somehow connected? Are they moving? If you put some kind of colored fluid in there, would it go in or would it come back out? Or would it just not do anything? Are these connected? Because if they're connected, it's a lung. I'm 100% sure it's a lung anyway, but to prove these things, you got to prove them. Who could be blamed for this strange happening? See, this is what they found, a large number of small holes.
Holes or micro depressions were scattered around the main holes or pockmarks.
Alright, they're little tiny ones, but they're, I believe those are those little blood vessels that I talked about. Because these are normally going to be a hole. That's a hole. Alright, blood has to circulate around it, and that's what the little blood vessels do. They help the blood circulate around these alveoli, so that the blood can pass its, or can absorb the oxygen out of this cavity. Look at this. In this same video, they're talking about a dinosaur footprint. That is from a nodule. The mammoth dinosaur footprint discovered in Australia. That's not a dinosaur footprint. That's a nodule. As a matter of fact, let me show you a nodule. Alright, look at this. They say this is a dinosaur footprint. That is a human nodule. That's a nodule. It's one of these just like that, basically. Alright, the heel sunk in, and the front is sort of flattened out. And it's a nodule. Now, I have a human footprint in Triassic rock here. Now, this is the largest by far. Alright, and what do they say about it?
Largest footprint formed by a mammoth dinosaur has been discovered in Australia.
Dinosaur.
It's 1.75 meters or 5.7 feet long, which means each...
That's not huge. I have a fingertip that's 3 feet long. Just the fingertip itself. That's not big. And that is a footprint. It's not a dinosaur. See that they're talking about a foot being 5 feet long. This is just the tip of a finger. This is the tip of a finger. It's 3 feet long. And this has been DNA tested. And it still had the fingerprints on. I think I might have shown you this already. I show this stuff so many times I forget. It still had the fingerprints on it. You see that? That's a sweat pore. That's a sweat pore. That's a fingerprint ridge. And the fingernail was right up here. And I broke this off so I could get some blood. Because you can't get blood out of that skin. Your finger skin and your foot, there's no blood in the skin. You got to get underneath. So I whacked it with a big heavy-duty hammer, and it popped off. Right there. It just popped right off like a scab. Just like what I showed you here. It peeled right off. Just like this. Popped right off. And there it is. And then there's a ton of blood underneath, because there's a ton of blood in fingers. They just saturated. So that's not a problem at all. Now, this is my footprint. This is a human footprint right here. That is a human footprint, and the balls of the feet are still here. And it is in Triassic rock. You see that? It's pushed down through the Triassic rock. This is a red bed. Above it was a gray clay, which is this. It got pushed down through the red bed because the guy was running like crazy trying to get out of town. So you got a red bed, gray clay, black cap. Flesh eroded, the rest of the bodies and trees and green things and so forth laid on top of the bloody flesh. And then when all the debris came out from the sky, from volcanoes and burning and all that, was the black cap. That was on top of this. When I found this, it was stacked together. That is a human footprint. All right, this is literally undeniable. You can see the gray clay right there. You see that gray? And the gray down here? That gray is not supposed to be there. That gray is supposed to be up here. And then the red bed, this red, you see the red? That's supposed to be underneath the gray. The guy stepped in the gray clay and pushed it down through the red bed. That means that this layer and this layer, the gray and the red, had to be, and no question whatsoever, they had to be wet at the same time. There's absolutely no question whatsoever. It wasn't just dirt. There was 2 layers of like muddy layering. Zero question about that. Then this ended up coming down as a big thick of black cap, which was all the fallout. Now, this, there's no question either. You can see the balls of the guy's feet right there. You see that? There's the balls of his feet. This is a footprint. And there's where the heel hit. And he was running. I said, my estimation is running, hit like this, and here, and bloop, and just kept running like crazy to hope to get out of harm's way. This was the Triassic era. It happened like in 24 hours. Very, very quick. Very, very quick. And that's why these animals died. They were these woolly mammoths. They just died flat on the spot. They still had stuff in their mouth. It was a terrible, terrible impact from Venus. I think I've made my case. All right, this is one of those lungs that have converted to silicon. And these are those little black spots, I think, that they're talking about around these major holes. As I showed you before in the pictures that they were showing of the floor of the ocean, having those little black spots. Let me see if I can find where that was. Hold on one second. Now look at this careful. I'm saying that these little black spots and the little red spots are the spots they're talking about next to these alveoli holes. Because I say it's a lung that they're looking at on the floor of the ocean. And there's all these, there's a zillion of these, and then there's a zillion of these little ones. You see the little dot in the center of all of them? Why would they put that dot there if there's no reason for that? There's some reason there's a dot there. Now, are they taking water in? Are they spitting water out? Because these things, they still have, a lot of them still have actually the plumbing still in there. The tubes are still there. Some of them are empty and they can flow things in and out. That's what happens. The red blood, arterial blood, drains out. Veins have clamps, so they don't usually drain out. And that's the black blood. But the red blood, well, right up here, you can see it. You see the red spots there? The red one right there? They drain out. The blood just drains out of them. The black ones, they normally don't drain out. You can see some little black dots. Those won't drain. That's the tiniest little dot too. But the red blood has drained out. That's what you see there. Okay, I've made claims that there is no life without light. Light makes plants grow and does all these things. Well, that's not entirely true. Well, what is life at the hydrothermal vents? Life at hydrothermal vents. The floor of the deep ocean is almost devoid of life. There's almost nothing there at all. Very, very deep because there's no light. It says little food can be found there, but around hydrothermal vents, life is abundant because food is abundant. Hot mineral-rich fluids supply nutrient chemicals. Microbes, some of which eat these chemicals, form the base of the food chain for a diverse community of organisms. These vents are the only place on Earth where the ultimate source of energy for life is not sunlight, but the inorganic Earth itself. No, it is the heat from the vent, which is nothing more than extremely slow light. It's the same particles. Okay, my friends, you know that I do research with light, which is energy, and I claim there is no life where there is no light. Well, light doesn't necessarily have to be bright where it glows. Light is electrons, basically. Light is made of electrons, dipole electrons, which is heat. This is heat. That's why these things are growing here. They love this. In addition to that, this is biology because these hot smokers are decaying biological remains that are under the ocean and giving off these gases which are loaded with nutrients. And because the heat is there, you have the energy. Normally, you could have all the nutrients you want. You're not going to get this. You're not going to get this without the heat. you need the electricity, electrons. On the surface of the Earth, you got tons of them coming down, so you're good to go. They grow everything, all plants and animals, everything loves it. Way down deep in the ocean, no light, darkness. If it's cold and there's no heat, this is basically a dead zone. When you have hot like this, because of really combusting biology that's deep under the ocean floor, and that's why it's causing this. And I like I said, I make statements all the time. You have zero life without light. Let there be light means let there be life. And this is what it's from, and that is biology. These things love these hydrothermal vents. That's the only thing that grows down there, is these kind of things. And that's because it's some kind of biology that's been composted, basically. You know what spontaneous combustion is, where you take plants or animals or whatever, some kind of biology, you cover it up so that there's no flow through of oxygen and air and everything to take away all of the gases and so forth, and then all of a sudden it gets so hot it explodes. This is spontaneous combustion just forever, because there's a ton of stuff in a lung or wherever this is coming from. It could be coming from virtually anything. Normally they're going to come out of your digestive system. These are probably from a digestive system, because that's where all the stuff is that's supposed to be getting digested. So anyway, I'm going to leave it at that for today. Thank you. We're just going to keep going with this. It's this time we have to realize what reality is. So stick around. Spread the word. Give me a thumbs up. And talk it up. Make sure you don't feel silly about talking this up. I know it sounds crazy, but it is not crazy, and it's now it's being accepted. And you'll be ahead of the gang if you start talking now, because trust me, this is not going to be long, and they'll all be talking about this. They just can't hide forever, and that's what they're doing, literally hiding. I'm not kidding you. This has been 10 years, 15 years almost, and it just can't continue. It's impossible now. There's too many people that know about this. And I'm seeing every day another article, sort of, well, we really realize this, and we didn't realize that, and now with new research, this and that, and we all figured this stuff out. They're all taking credit for everything. I've been posting this stuff for years, and nobody would listen. Now all of a sudden they're listening, but it's all their ideas now. That's how academia works. All right, I love you all. Keep paying attention. Get ahead of the curve. And I think that the Yale and the rest of them should be refunding the money to the students and not the taxpayers. This is crazy what they did to the kids, and now we have to pay their student loans. It's just not right.